Imagine waking up every single morning with a fire in your chest, a dream so vivid it keeps you awake at night, whispering promises of freedom, impact, and the life you've always craved. But then you sit at your desk, open your laptop, and that fire flickers, choked by an invisible weight that presses down on your soul. The to-do list stares back at you like an accusation. Write the business plan 20 hours. Build the website 30 hours. Craft the marketing strategy 15 hours. Design the logo and branding 10 hours. 75 hours. 75 hours of work looming like a mountain you can't even see the top of. And in that moment, your heart sinks. Not with laziness, not with failure, with pure, aching overwhelm. This was Marcus at 32, a man who had poured years of his life into learning, saving, dreaming. He had the idea, a brilliant one that could change lives, including his own. He had the knowledge from late nights studying, the resources scraped together through sheer grit, even a small pot of startup capital that represented every sacrifice he'd made. But momentum, that cruel, elusive spark, it had vanished. Every morning felt like standing at the foot of Everest in flip-flops, staring up at an impossible climb. Where do you even begin when the peak feels light years away? Marcus would try. He'd open a blank document, type a tentative title, and then nothing. The cursor blinked mockingly. His mind raced with doubts. Is this structured right? What if it's not perfect? What if I waste weeks and still fail? The blank page became a mirror reflecting every fear he'd ever buried, fear of judgment, fear of mediocrity, fear that he wasn't enough. So he'd close the tab. I need the right mindset, he'd tell himself, voice cracking with false conviction. Tomorrow, when I have more energy. But tomorrow arrived heavy with the same paralysis. Days blurred into weeks, weeks into 3 agonizing months, 3 months of planning without progress, 3 months of intentions that felt like lies he told himself in the mirror, 3 months where his dreams slowly suffocated under the weight of inaction. His wife watched it all, the woman who believed in him when no one else did. She saw the light dimming in his eyes, the way his shoulders slumped a little more each day. She saw the man she loved disappearing into a cycle of self-doubt and avoidance, scrolling endlessly, checking emails that didn't matter, doing anything to escape the one thing that mattered most. One evening, after another silent dinner where words hung unspoken between them, she couldn't hold it in anymore. Marcus, she said, her voice trembling with a mix of love and frustration, tears welling in her eyes. Either start this business or get a job. You can't keep sitting there doing nothing. It's killing you, and it's killing us. The words landed like a punch to the gut. He stared at her, shame flooding every inch of him. That night, alone in the dark, Marcus felt the tears come, hot, silent, unstoppable. He wasn't just failing at a project. He was failing her. Failing the version of himself he'd promised to become. Failing the future they'd dreamed of together. The shame burned deeper than any deadline ever could. Desperate, broken open, he picked up the phone and called the one person who might understand. Uncle Tom, the man who'd built 2 companies from nothing and sold them for millions. His voice cracked as he poured it all out. Uncle Tom, I have everything I need. The idea, the skills, the money, but I can't start. I just can't. There was a long pause on the other end. Then, a soft, knowing laugh, not mocking, but filled with the empathy of someone who'd stood in that exact same darkness. Marcus, Uncle Tom said gently, you're not broken. You're suffering from mountain paralysis. You're at the bottom looking up at the peak, and the distance is so vast it freezes you in place. I've been there. Every successful person has. Marcus's breath caught. So what do I do? How do I move? You use the 10-minute rule, Uncle Tom replied, his tone steady and warm, like a lifeline thrown into the abyss. It's the secret every titan I've known uses to defeat that paralysis. Let me show you why it works, and how it can save you. In that moment, with tears still drying on his cheeks, Marcus felt the first faint glimmer of hope. Not a roaring flame yet, just a spark. But it was enough. Enough to listen. Enough to believe that maybe, just maybe, the mountain wasn't impossible after all. Subscribe now. Make sure to share for more stories like this. The phone trembled slightly in Marcus's hand as Uncle Tom's voice filled the quiet room, steady and kind, like an anchor dropped into a storm. Marcus, listen to me. The 10-minute rule isn't about working harder. It's about making starting impossible to refuse. When a task feels like a mountain too high to climb, you don't try to reach the summit. You just take one stupid, tiny step. 10 minutes. That's all you promise yourself, nothing more. Marcus wiped his face with the back of his sleeve, voice hoarse. But 10 minutes, it's nothing. I'll still be staring at the same blank page when it's over. That's what everyone thinks at first, Uncle Tom said softly. But you're wrong, son. And here, why it breaks the spell every single time. He spoke slowly, letting each reason land like medicine on an open wound. First, starting friction. Your brain treats big tasks like mortal threats. The moment you even think about the business plan, 20 hours, research, structure, perfection, your amygdala lights up. Fight, flight, or freeze, you freeze, but 10 minutes. 10 minutes is so small your brain can't justify panicking over it. It's like asking you to hold your breath for 3 seconds. Ridiculous to refuse, so you start. And starting is 90% of the battle. Marcus closed his eyes, picturing the blinking cursor that had mocked him for months. Second, momentum is physics, not motivation. Once you're moving, even slowly, the resistance drops dramatically. Newton was right. An object in motion stays in motion. Research backs it up. People who commit to just 10 minutes end up working 30, 40, sometimes hours more. Not because they're disciplined saints. Because once the engine turns over, it wants to keep running. You trick your own mind into cooperating. A small, broken laugh escaped Marcus. You're saying I've been waiting for motivation when all I needed was motion. Exactly. Motivation follows action, not the other way around. Uncle Tom's voice grew warmer, almost tender. Third, and this one hurts the most to admit, the progress principle. Even if you stop at 10 minutes, you've done something. 3 bullet points. 1 paragraph, a rough sketch. Tiny, yes, meaningless, never. That visible progress releases dopamine. It quiets the voice that says you're a failure. 0 progress feeds shame. Shame feeds paralysis. A tiny win starves shame and feeds hope. Day after day, those tiny wins stack. They become proof you're not stuck. You're moving. Marcus felt something shift inside his chest. Small, fragile, but real. Like the first crack of light under a door he'd thought was sealed forever. Uncle Tom continued, gentle but firm. Here! How you do it tomorrow morning. No excuses, no waiting for the perfect mood. Step 1, set a literal timer on your phone. 10 minutes, make it real. Step 2, promise yourself, out loud if you have to, I only have to do this for 10 minutes. Then I can quit guilt-free. That promise kills the pressure. Step 3, pick one micro task so small it's almost laughable. Not write the business plan. That's still the mountain. Instead, write 3 bullet points describing my dream customer. Or open the website builder and choose a template. Tiny, specific, achievable. Step 4, press start on the timer and begin. No negotiation. No, I'll do it in 5 minutes. Just go. Step 5, when it rings, you decide. Stop with pride, you kept your promise, or keep going if the current has caught you. Either way, you win. You've beaten the paralysis for one more day. Marcus exhaled shakily. And if I do this every day? Then the mountain starts coming to you, Uncle Tom said. 1 10-minute stone at a time. In 2 weeks, you'll look back and realize you've moved farther than 3 months of staring ever got you. Trust me, I've seen it. I've lived it. Silence stretched between them. Then Marcus whispered, almost to himself, I'm scared I'll fail anyway. I know, Uncle Tom replied. We all are, but failing while moving hurts less than failing while frozen. And Marcus, you're not failing right now. You're calling for help at 1 a.m. with tears on your face. That's courage. That's the first step you didn't even know you took. Marcus looked toward the dark window. Somewhere beyond the glass, dawn was only hours away. I'll try it, he said, voice cracking but steadying. Tomorrow, 10 minutes. Good, Uncle Tom said, pride thick in his tone. Text me when the timer goes off. Tell me what you did, even if it's just 3 terrible bullet points. I'll be waiting. They hung up. Marcus set the phone down, chest still tight but lighter somehow. He didn't feel invincible. He didn't feel motivated. But for the first time in months, he felt possible. He crawled into bed, exhausted, tear-streaked, but holding on to one fragile promise. Tomorrow, he would set a timer. And he would start. Dawn broke over Benin City with the same quiet indifference it always did. Roosters calling, distant Okada engines revving, the first prayers drifting from a nearby mosque. Inside Marcus's small apartment, the air still carried the heaviness of the night before. He hadn't slept much. His eyes were puffy, his body felt leaden, but something stubborn had taken root in his chest. One promise: 10 minutes. He sat at the same cluttered desk that had become his prison. The to-do list still loomed on the wall, its numbers mocking him. But today he didn't stare at the whole mountain. He didn't let his gaze climb to the impossible peak. Instead, he pulled out a fresh sheet of paper and wrote in careful block letters at the top. 3 bullet points about my target customer. Nothing more, nothing grand, just 3 sentences. His phone lay face up beside the laptop. He opened the timer app, fingers hesitating for only a second. 10 minutes. He pressed start. The seconds began ticking. For the first 3 minutes, nothing happened. His mind screamed every excuse it knew. You're too tired. This is pointless. You'll just write garbage, go back to bed. The restlessness clawed at him. He shifted in the chair, scratched his neck, glanced at the door like escape was still an option. But the timer kept going. He had promised himself he could stop at 10. No shame, no guilt, just 10. So he stayed. At minute 4, he forced his fingers onto the keys. He typed the first bullet point slowly, hatting every word. Young professionals in Lagos and Abuja, 25-35 years old. It was basic, obvious, embarrassingly simple, but it existed. Minute 5, he exhaled, shoulders dropping a fraction. They want convenience and trust, because they've been burned by unreliable local services before. Better, a tiny memory surfaced, his cousin complaining about a bad delivery app last Christmas. He wrote it down. Minute 7, something loosened in his chest. They value speed and clear communication. They'll pay a premium for reliability. He read the 3 lines back to himself. They weren't brilliant. They weren't even complete, but they were true, and they were his. The timer beeped. Marcus froze, 10 minutes gone. He stared at the screen. 3 bullet points. 3 pathetic, imperfect bullet points. And yet his heart was beating faster. Not with panic this time, with something dangerously close to excitement. He hadn't fixed the world. He hadn't even finished a section. But he had done something real. The page wasn't blank anymore. He reached for the phone to stop the timer, and paused. His thumb hovered over the red button. He could quit now. He'd kept his promise. No one would judge him. Uncle Tom wouldn't know. His wife was still asleep. He could walk away with dignity intact. But the words were still there, glowing on the screen. And a quiet voice, small, almost forgotten, whispered, "What if you wrote 3 more?" He reset the timer. Another 10 minutes. This time the restlessness was quieter. He added, "Pain points, late deliveries, poor customer service, hidden fees." They follow influencers on Instagram and Twitter for recommendations. Budget, willing to spend 5,000,15,000 per service if guaranteed quality. By the second beep, he had 6 bullet points. A rough customer avatar was forming. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't finished, but it was progress. He sat back, breathing hard, like he'd run a short race. His hands shook, not from fear, but from the unfamiliar rush of having moved forward. He grabbed his phone and texted Uncle Tom exactly as promised. First 10 minutes done, then another. 6 bullet points about target customer, not great, but they're there. The reply came almost immediately. "Proud of you, son. That's how mountains shrink, one stone at a time. Keep going." Marcus looked at the clock. Only 23 minutes had passed since he sat down. In 3 months, he hadn't written 23 coherent words about his business. Today, he had 6 bullet points. 6 real steps up the slope. Tears pricked his eyes again, not from shame this time, but from relief so sharp it hurt. He didn't feel unstoppable. He didn't feel like a hero. He still felt afraid. The rest of the list still towered behind him. But for the first time in months, the fear had competition. Hope was waking up. He set the timer again. 10 more minutes. Just 10. And he began. Subscribe now. Make sure to share for more stories like this. 2 weeks passed like a quiet revolution. Marcus no longer woke up dreading the desk. He woke up anticipating the timer. Day after day, the ritual repeated. Identify one laughably small micro-task, set the 10-minute timer, press start, and let the world fall away. Some days the 10 minutes stayed 10. He'd stop when the beep sounded, stand up, stretch, feel the unfamiliar pride of having kept a promise to himself. No guilt, no self-loathing, just quiet victory. Other days, most days, the current caught him. 10 minutes became 25 on the website wireframe, 35 sketching logo concepts, 51 outlining the entire marketing funnel in one breathless flow. He didn't force it. He didn't willpower his way through. Momentum did the work. Once the engine was running, stopping felt harder than continuing. The wall list that once crushed him began to shrink. Crossed-out items appeared one by one. Business plan done. Drafted in stolen 10 and 20-minute bursts over 9 days. Website right arrow functional homepage, and 3 core pages live. Branding right arrow 5 logo variations, narrowed to one strong direction. Marketing strategy outlined, channels selected, first content calendar sketched. 75 hours that had felt like an eternity now totaled maybe 40 actual working hours, spread thin across mornings, lunch breaks, late evenings, when the apartment was quiet and his wife smiled at him from the doorway instead of looking away. 3 months of paralysis, 3 months of building, same amount of time, completely different man. One evening, his wife came home from the market, arms full of tomatoes and plantain, and stopped in the living room doorway. Marcus was at the desk, not staring blankly, but typing with focus, final tweaks to the launch announcement post. She set the bags down slowly. "Marcus," she said, voice soft, almost afraid to break whatever spell she was seeing. He looked up, saw the shimmer in her eyes. "What changed?" she asked. "You were gone for so long, and now you're here, really here." He leaned back in the chair, exhaled a laugh that was half disbelief. "I stopped trying to climb the mountain in one leap," he said. "I just committed to 10 minutes at a time, and 10 minutes turned into hours, hours turned into days, days turned into this." He gestured at the screen, at the live website, the logo in the corner, the growing folder of content. She crossed the room, wrapped her arms around him from behind, chin resting on his shoulder. He felt her tears dampen his shirt. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. "I was scared we'd lose you to that desk, but you came back." "I almost didn't," he admitted, voice thick. "But Uncle Tom gave me the rule, and you gave me the reason." They stayed like that until the room grew dark. Later that night, Marcus opened his phone and sent one final text to Uncle Tom. "Launch the business today. Small but real. Customers already signing up. Thank you for the rule, for believing I could." The reply came within minutes. "You did the hardest part, son. You started. The rest is just motion. Keep the timer close. Mountains never stop appearing, they just get smaller when you know how to walk." Marcus set the phone down, looked at the sleeping form of his wife beside him, and felt something settle deep in his bones. Peace. Not the peace of completion. There would always be more lists, bigger mountains. But the peace of knowing he no longer had to wait for motivation, or energy, or the perfect day. He had a key now, a stupidly simple, impossibly powerful key. 10 minutes. Always available. Always enough to begin. And beginning, he had learned, was everything. So the next morning, when the first real customer challenge appeared, an unexpected bug on the site, a question about pricing, he didn't freeze. He set the timer. 10 minutes. Just 10. And he began again. Because momentum, once tasted, becomes the only mountain worth climbing. Subscribe now. Make sure to share for more stories like this.